bets on the weekend because I started at 5:59 instead of 6 p.m. And so I'm not going to start the meeting until 6 p.m. I was so close to winning.
It's amazing. Flex.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. It is 6 p.m. and I call this regular city council meeting of May 19th to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Thomas? Here. Councilmember Carey? Here. Councilmember Grant? Councilmember Dillon?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Edwards? Mayor Pro Tem Clark?
Here.
Mayor Green?
Here, let the record show that both Councilmember Edwards and Councilmember Grant announced their planned absences from this meeting previously in Worcester. Okay, if everyone would please join me in the optional Pledge of Allegiance or moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to move on to approval of the agenda, but before we approve it, I do want to note an amendment to it, striking our presentation this evening from the Historic Preservation Committee or Commission regarding their annual award recognition. That has been rescheduled for a future meeting. So if someone would like to approve the agenda, it will be with that amendment.
Thomas makes a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Seconded.
Who wins? I think so. Sharp gets that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Let's move on then to the consent agenda. This simply includes our minutes from our May 5th, 2026 meeting.
Public comment?
It's not, how did it not? Oh, it's me. I'm being hasty. I'm being too hasty. Please rewind. We have a lot of public here and I sure would like to hear from anybody who has anything to say. Let's go to public comment. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to give public comment for items not on the agenda? Wendy, you raised your hand first. You should come on up. Tell us your name and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Weiskill and I live at 322 West 6th. I have many hats on in this community. Today I am here only as a community member. I would like to express concern and dismay at the approval for the 35-foot parking pad at 400 West 6th. Had I been aware of this proposal, I would have attended the city council meeting during which it was presented. I find that the approval of this flies in the face of what we are trying to maintain in Leadville. The amazing historical preservation of the old structures and the goal of preserving the charm and historical feeling of Leadville when new structures are proposed. It is my understanding that the Historical Preservation Committee voted unanimously against this structure. The City Council approved it 4-2. The vote of 4-2 approval was extremely upsetting to some of those on the HPC that I spoke with. The role of the HPC is to provide guidance and direction as to how to keep Leadville, Leadville. I am also familiar with the Community One project as I was on the Economic Action Committee. Because of that, I have read the entire draft of the comprehensive plan. A clear message in this document, though it hasn't been approved yet, that comes June 10th, I believe, is that while we want to move forward with new builds, encourage new businesses, for example, we want to preserve the culture and values of Leadville. Approving a 35-foot cement pad for an RV seems to conflict with what we are saying is important in this community. This structure and RV will be seen as far down as Fifth and beyond. It will be an eyesore, and I will be walking by it almost every day. I hope in the future, more consideration is given to both what the HPC recommends and also in keeping with amazing culture that we currently have in Leadville. I was very disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks, Wendy.
Is there anyone, Sarah?
Hello, I'm Sarah Edwards. I live at 308 Poplar Street. I am here today as the Executive Director of the Tabor Opera House Preservation Foundation, who stewards your city-owned building, the Tabor Opera House. I just wanted to come today and thank Lori for her service and congratulate her on her retirement. She's been a great partner for us. I really believe the last few years we have accelerated our growth as an organization, and that's due large in part to Lori and her position working in tandem with the executive director position that the foundation created. So thank you. You will be missed. I also wanted to thank Mayor Green for attending our DOLA grant presentation this a few weeks ago. We'll hear back in a few weeks. And I want to thank Council Member Thomas for joining our board this year. I believe with you two, we'll have a positive transition with whomever steps into the city administrator position. I look forward to working with you all and the new person when they come. I would just like to quickly give the rest of you our lineup of events for the summer season. I haven't had a chance to come. If you don't need them or want to look at them online, I can collect unused ones and pass them out to other community members and partners. But here's our live music series, and then also provide you our annual report from 2025. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else in? Thank you. Come on. So exciting.
Hello, I'm Erin Duggan. I live at 301 West 7th. I'm here on behalf of Leadville Main Street. I also am here to express gratitude to Lori. I understand it is her last city council meeting tonight. And I want to say specifically, thank you, Lori. Thank you, all of you, and really everybody in this room. I think as most of you or all of you know, Leadville Main Street more than likely wouldn't exist without the support of the city. And it's been invaluable to us to have somebody in our corner, and Lori since day one has been singing our praises and a big cheerleader for our program and everything that we do, and we really appreciate you. I hope you're moving on to bigger and better things, and we will miss you. So thank you, everyone. I don't have any other major updates, but stay tuned for flowers.
Thanks, Sarah.
I can wait.
So I'm gonna go with the back. We'll go with the back of the gentleman first. We might need a little more time.
Mayor, City Council, and City Administrator. My name is Greg Lobby. I live in the city of Leadville, and I'm going to pile up. A few years ago, some years ago now, time flies when you're having so much fun. We made a decision as a city to change from what is known as a strong mayor system to a city administrator, city council form of government. Mayor Green and I were part of that transition in considering when it would happen, and I have not regretted it for a second. I keep saying we. Lori has changed the city of Leadville, and that's what we needed. That was critically missing, as we were a bare bones operation, had been for many years. In our defense, for many of those years, we didn't have any money. But that did change over time. And as that change took place, and as we had a city administrator, then the city really did change for the better. This city is, in my opinion, very solid. And I appreciate all that you've done, because this was all you. And I to this day, I really honor the decision that we made to change city government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, well, this is an evening appreciating Lori. So my name is Melissa Kendrick and I'm a resident of Leadville with deep multi-generational roots here. I also work for Lake County, as many of you know, in the planning department. And I'm mostly here because I'm a friend and a colleague of Lori's. And this is an auspicious night, the last city council meeting. City administrator as Lori prepares to retire from this job. And I know before I started with Lake County that Anne and Lori talked about the need for a planning function in the city. And she, with her deep understanding and experience, understood that and went about hiring Chapin, which was such a great decision on so many levels. So now there's a planning department. And I think the One Community project couldn't have happened without those choices. And so we embarked upon this, joint comprehensive plan, as you all have been participating in. And I don't think that would have been possible without having a planning department, so that the two organizations, we could work together in sort of leading that effort. And those plans, as you know, will have far-reaching effects on what we do and how we do it. And that has so much to do with your efforts, Lori. And I think what it has impressed me as much as your leadership is your willingness to roll up your sleeves and attend a lot of these meetings and discussions and drafting and editing and really helping us envision the future for our community. So I thank you for that. And, just really taking the opportunity for that acknowledgement. It's difficult to be the first manager of any organization, and certainly that's exacerbated in local government. What we do is often misunderstood and underappreciated. And so, I'm really expressing my appreciation for what you've done and echoing all the sentiments tonight. So we wish you well.
You're not done yet. That, or did you want to?
I'll be
Come on up, Tim.
Good evening, I'm Tim Swanner. I live at 301 West 7th, and I've had the honor of serving on the Fire Advisory Board with Lori. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize her keen eye and professionalism and just clear dedication to this community. It's much appreciated, and you will be missed.
Thank you, Tim. Captain Slutsky.
Hello, my name is Zach Slutsky. I'm the president of the Local 869, which is the Professional Firefighters Union. I'm here in representation of the union, and we want to give our gratitude to Lori Simonson. I've had the pleasure of working in multiple cities, counties, big and small, and I've worked for a number of city and county managers and administrators over the last 24 years. And I can say without a doubt that, Lori, you were one of the best. So on behalf of the union, you will deeply be missed. I heard Mayor Lave say once upon a time that once a Leadville mayor, always a Leadville mayor. Well, you will always be Leadville's first city administrator. Thank you.
I thank all of you, and I think a round of applause is in order for Lori's dedication and service to our city. I don't want to be remiss and ignore people online. Is there anyone online who would like to give comment for items not on the agenda? Please raise your virtual hand. And I see Candace. Please unmute.
Thank you. So I just wanted to come on here. I'm Candace Bryans, Lake County Manager, and I just wanted to thank Lori for her years of service and leadership. Roles like ours are often deeply rewarding, but they require a tremendous amount of personal sacrifice, time away from family, our constant public scrutiny, difficult decisions, and carrying the weight of an entire community's challenges. People rarely see the long hours we put in, the stress or the toll that these positions take on our energy and personal relationships. And personal service at this level asks a great deal of those who are willing to step into these roles. I just want her to know that the commitment to serving the community is making a lasting impact. And I really hope that retirement brings her the time to reconnect with the things and people that matter the very most, and an opportunity to just enjoy the balance that this work so often demands we set aside. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Candace.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else online who would like to give comments for items not in the agenda? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You signed in and you're just raising your little finger.
Luke Finken, 408 West 7th Street. Lori, congratulations. Good luck. Frozen is next weekend. To change the subject, don't forget, get those tickets right now. The bronze out at the Irish Miners Memorial will be switched out this weekend, which is very exciting. The 3D printed image will be taken off. Maybe it'll go on tour with its final resting place. We hope it's already been accepted, but we hope we can get over to Allihies, our sister city, this fall. What I came to talk to you though today is about a very interesting and wonderful opportunity. On February 18th, 2028, the city of Leadville will turn 150 years old. Kathleen Fitzsimmons and I, my wife, we have just created a 501c3, the Leadville History Hub. It is our hope that we will be able to get the community behind this 1-year anniversary birthday party. Starting with a birthday party, hopefully on February 18th. Everybody brings a cake. It'd be a great time. We can have these celebrations. And we're not asking a lot from the community in general, but what we would like to see is common press kit that we saw our dear friends at Leadville Main Street, and the common branding for this event over the entire year to make it real easy on our events that already take place. Ski Joring, the Trail 100 race series, the Cloud City Wheelers, Boom Days have already been talked to. They're all on board, which is very exciting. So what we would like to see is this press kit, this branding, and you as the city of Leadville, it's your birthday, it's our birthday, right, for this grand city. We will be coming to you for some of those city mini grants, which start pretty soon, and then the following years. The hope being that we would be ready to go because there's a pretty long runway leading up to 2028, which is great. We were very impressed by what happened with Leadville Main Street. We went to them first, making sure that we got all of our ducks in a row. And we did make sure we went down and talked to Janice Fox to make sure that we got the date correct. Because the last thing we wanted to get the date wrong and get that wrong with Janice. There are some other opportunities that we could have. Obviously, I'm going to talk to the Tabor Opera House on Thursday, the Lake County Civic Center Association as well, along with Climax and all of our other community partners. But this should not be too much of a burden on our already extensive groups in town. We're just hoping for a common press kit, common branding. Let those 150, so anytime something happens, a year's worth of celebrations, and more to come on that. Thank you for your time.
Wow,
Great idea.
very exciting. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Steve. I'm sorry, I like blew over the people who were silently quietly raising their hands. Come on, over here. So. I have one more for Shannon. Thank you.
All right, Steve Prestash. I live in the city of Leadville since 1980. I wish I could be conciliatory type of guy, but I'm not. And I wish I would plan these little 3-minute things, but I can't. I'm reading a book called Merchants in the Temple Inside Pope Francis's Secret Battle Against Corruption in the Vatican. And it's a kind of an interesting book, which leads me to corruption in our city government. There's an appearance of impropriety from my perspective in that I'm not allowed to be on this task force assessment asset management committee. Joey Edwards has listed his house for $51,000 short of $1 million down across the street. The realtors, if that was $1 million at 5%, would be getting a $50,000 commission. Realtors should not be in government. They should be advising government, but they should not be in government because there's a conflict of interest, I believe. When we got off the COVID thing, the previous mayor did not believe in having the Pledge of Allegiance, and he didn't have the public comment section. Because of me giving the Pledge of Allegiance during my 3 minutes, then we started Pledges of Allegiance again. Mayor Green was responsible for us allowing to have the public comment again, both at the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting. But there was a little bit of a small struggle to get that back on the agenda. I think it would be important for me to be on this asset management thing because for what I'm interpreting this now as a personal asset enrichment because Joey has already spoken about his plan for having all the streets, the 23 miles of streets done in a swift manner. And I don't think that is responsible as far as the burden it's going to place on the taxpayers that are middle income. So not having my voice on there to talk about asset management focuses just on asset enrichment for individuals that are second homeowners and that are realtors and that want to sell Leadville realty wise and at the burden of people like me. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Steve. Oops, sorry. Is there anyone else that I have overlooked in
No, and
council
turn it off.
or online? Okay, thank you. Thank you for correcting my overlook of public comment. That was totally worth it. Let's move on to the consent agenda, which does only include approval of our minutes from May 5th.
Move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Thomas seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. This is just a great meeting all around. There's so much praise, and now we get to move on to an oath of office and welcoming a new police officer to the ranks of our police department. Officer Dakota Hanson. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Dakota Hanson,
I, Dakota Hanson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
by the ever-living God
by the ever-living God
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States,
the United States,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and
of
laws
the state of Colorado,
of the state of Colorado,
and the municipal laws and code
and the municipal law and code
of the city of Leadville.
of the city of Leadville.
I will uphold,
I will uphold,
obey, and enforce
obey, and enforce
the law
the law
without consideration to
without consideration to
a person's race,
a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
age,
national origin,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap, or disability.
handicap, or disability.
I affirm that I will faithfully perform
I will affirm and faithfully perform
the duties of a Leadville Police Department officer
the duties of the Leadville Police Department officer
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
I enter this obligation
I enter this obligation
freely without any reservations.
freely without any reservation.
Congratulations and welcome.
Dakota's wife Emily is gonna put his badge on. Dakota came just from the sheriff's office. His father works for the police department. His father is Dan, and his grandmother is also here. His parents would have been here, but they're out of town today. Don't poke her color.
Last one.
There is no one that does this. One will be for you and one will be for the city. Just sign, I sign here, and I sign here. Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Welcome to what? Yes, yes. Congratulations and welcome.
That ends all of the fun things. We're gonna move on. We're moving that presentation as mentioned to a future meeting. We're gonna move on to a discussion of the council rules of order. I want to thank, I'm sorry, I have a very long password and I'm getting it wrong. I want to thank Councilmember Carey for the corrections which I have implemented in this packet. It was just very easy to read and I appreciate the improvements. Let me get down to this. I took some commentary from Councilmember Edwards and Councilmember Thomas. Is there anything like, I think I sent you some replies, but is there anything specifically to kind of share with council, like what your thoughts were about your questions and inquiries?
Well, I still have an outstanding question in the bylaws about how council might create a work group that doesn't require much in the way of staff. And I know, Dana, in your response to me, you said you were going to reach out to legal. Did you get a response?
So Ellie is joining us this evening from Hillary's office, from our city attorney's office. Hillary, did you have a chance to look over that particular issue or question?
Yes, I think that's, thank you, Mayor. That's up to how council would like to handle it. If you want to specifically designate it in the rules of order, that's fine. If you want it in writing, I think can also be, I don't know exactly how frequently this comes up, but it can also be something as simple as a motion made in a meeting. So however much you want to formalize it, I would support that. I don't think you have any legal limitations on how you do it. I think it's just a consensus from council on how you want to make that happen.
I think the question is, because so far we have done it by resolution, that
Mhm.
allows us to both kind of outline the scope of whatever the task force is, as well as assign members. I think it should that process of forming a task force or, other such bodies be in our rules of order, the same way that our meetings are in our rules of order.
I would say it's less of a rules of order consideration. We don't need every resolution type or every ordinance type to be addressed in the rules of order, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think how to best word it. I think it could fit if you would like it to. In my mind, not necessarily, because the process of passing a resolution already exists, and you don't need to have every resolution type listed.
What does council think of that? Is that something that happens that seems specific enough to our role that you would like to see outlined here? I mean, I see Ellie's point of not getting into the weeds of like, well, this, but then does that mean that we also can't do that? And not listing every type of resolution, but I know this is something that really falls uniquely on council to form and to staff, with council members, et cetera. What do you guys think?
I guess I personally would like to see something in the bylaws that outlines a more formal process with the actual form that goes to the city administrator to request work, and then have the option to do something more informally as well, that would require less or no staff input.
So
And I think it would be clearer if it was in the bylaws.
So kind of like the rundown of new business, like here's how we introduce new business.
Yeah.
So do you think that in your mind, would that fall under kind of the same article? Like under agendas and council packets, or trying to
I
think.
think, was it Article 3D that was the new business? one? Yeah, so I think in Article 3D.
Okay. I'll make a quick note of this. All right. What else?
The other one I had brought up was relying on city council to hold or to hear appeals for planning and zoning and HPC rather than do a double hearing between planning and zoning and HPC and then having a second hearing at city council. And I think we're going to reach out to legal on that one too.
Yeah, because that was originally kind of in there, since I anticipated that eventually there would be some shifting of authority, so P and Z or HPC could pass a hearing, by themselves, and leaving council as an appeal body. I guess, and I know that was in an earlier, like the original thing that we put together, and then got removed. I'm not sure if that got removed out of an effort to keep this, document tidy and workable, or if there was, or simply because since that authority did not yet exist for those two, for planning and zoning for HPC, that it really didn't seem like we could put in an appeal, like how council acts as an appeal yet. Do you have any insight on that, Ellie?
Yeah, Mayor, I think it's the latter, and I personally would find that it makes more sense to have the appeal process, if it's not already in your code, that's something that will be part of the revisions, because I know I was working on at some point a code revision that would give at least the HPC the authority to approval authority on its own. And I know for most of our other clients, if not all of them, the appeals process for items like this would be more appropriate in your municipal code.
Okay.
versus the
So-
rules of order.
So,
So-
so to come.
Yes.
Chapin, do you want to add?
Provide a little bit of quick background on that. So when we make that code amendment, what that will look like, it'll be a decision by a commission that shows up on your consent agenda. And as long as you approve it on your consent agenda, then there's not a public hearing. If you were to call the item off the agenda, then staff would schedule it for, let's call it de novo hearing, where the item would be heard anew and we'd schedule a public hearing. And as long as you agree with the item on your consent agenda, no second public hearing.
I guess my question, and I hope this is not too far off the topic, but if we did that, usually, like if we were an appeal body, it would be because the applicant did not agree with the what happened with that hearing. If we approve the consent agenda, they would still have the ability to come back for an appeal, because there's no way for us to know if that applicant would want to appeal yet. Is that correct? Or how would that fit together?
So I mean, it's unlikely an applicant would appeal your decision for approval if they are the applicant.
Okay.
And if the appeal process, so with the scenario that I just explained, the appeal process to your 5 of your 7 city council members, which form your board of review, would only occur is if you called an item off the consent agenda and you scheduled a no-vote hearing. So you scheduled the second public hearing, and in that public hearing, you denied the project, then that applicant will be eligible for an appeal to the board of review.
I guess my question is, why would we pull it off of the agenda if we ourselves had misgivings or questions? Or, because at that point, the applicant would know what the determination was, right? So I guess my question is, if an applicant then comes to council and says, hey, I really want to, like, I disagree with this, I want to appeal this, then we pull it off the agenda. I'm just questioning of like, what would be the situation in which we would decide to pull it off?
That's what you're saying. So in that situation, so like 95% of the projects that come to you are a recommendation for approval from your commission. That leads back to all the work the staff does to set applicants up for success. But if we had a project where the commission was recommending denial, which is the exception versus the rule, but it does happen. In that case, staff would request that procedurally our standard process, even though it's on the consent agenda, when you got the consent agenda in your meeting, staff would say, staff requests that council pulls this off the consent agenda.
I got it. Thank you for the clarification. Ellie, you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to, mention that, just kind of taking a step back, to support why the appeal process should be outlined in the code is because it really is something that we want an applicant to be easily able to access. Their right to appeal appears in the publicly facing municipal code versus council rules of order. Because from a procedural perspective, from council's view, this discussion is super helpful in terms of how would we get there. But for an applicant, they need to know on their end how they get there, and that's why it lives in the code, if that helps at all.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Do we have a schedule for the change to the code? We've just been talking about this for a while.
It's a strategic plan objective for the end of 2027, in your packet, you have a list, which I'll present my project head report tonight, which shows exactly how that item is prioritized. And in our, with other strategic plan objectives, and other department goals on our work, there's specific objectives.
Okay, so
I'll highlight that tonight.
Okay. All good?
yes,
That's it. Were there other items?
I think the other question was, do we want a formal form to request an item of new work?
Yeah.
Because I think you had not originally, the work group had not originally suggested that. But there was some discussion about it. You provided the form. I think that Golden uses.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if, we're relatively new to this, the way that we're introducing new business now. And I think our rules, just for me, I think the rules of order as they exist right now, expand that and include the role of the city administrator and staff to kind of weigh in on, is this spaghetti that will stick to the wall or not? And so my own feeling is that right now, that hasn't been really tested thoroughly, a little bit. So far, so good. And so I'm not really sure if putting a pause on this and developing a whole extra form, which would be an ancillary to the rules of order, would be useful. Like, do we need to formalize it to that level right now? Do we see a need for that?
Maybe a better option, at least on an interim basis, and Lori already had me do this, is put together a council communication form, which we already have that form. And it goes through and gives an estimate of required staff time. And I think it checks most of the boxes in the form that you provided to Golden. So maybe we use the already established council communication form.
Okay.
To bring forward an item of new business. Does that make sense, Lori?
It does, and so then you would already follow the process that's in your bylaws, because in order to bring a matter on a council communication form, it would need to be on the agenda. Therefore, you would have procedures in your current council rules of order for getting something on the agenda. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you already have the point being, you already have an existing structure for that.
Yes.
So you would follow that structure to get something approved and on an upcoming agenda, and then you could use the existing council committee.
I think that's good. I like that. And then nobody has to wallow around wondering what to do or how to do it.
So do you think we can clarify that in these?
In the bylaws. Yeah.
All right. What else?
I think I'm good. I think that answers my outstanding questions on the revised bylaws.
Before I get on to going over Councilmember Edwards' submissions, how about everybody else here? Because he's not here. Anybody else have input or modifications that they would like to see? Okay. Let me then just kind of go through quickly Joey's. I can tell you what I think about them, but I think some of these are things that actually came up in our rules of order task force discussions with legal. One is he would like to see the language that council packets be provided no later than 5 p.m. on Friday before regularly scheduled meeting be re-added. I think that was taken out for a reason, because it was too too precise. Like we strive to get them out Friday, but this is something that would be a directive to staff, and it doesn't really reflect on how we conduct ourselves, which is what our rules of order are. So I'm personally sticking by the modification that was made to remove that language and just say, for council to be prepared, we need on Friday, please.
That works for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, this is something for you, Ellie. One of his other questions is if where it says city administrator, it should be city manager administrator. But I recall there being a specific reason that we use the word administrator and not manager.
Yeah, those are two separate, it's based in statute. So it's your form of government is council administrator form of government. So yes.
So I think we'll just leave city administrator as is. We've had this talk in our legal training, and that, technically it breaks the open meetings law if 4 of us get together. And that 3 is actually acceptable because it's not a quorum, but the optics are bad and so it should be avoided. And so we've kind of operated under that. Do you feel that it should be stated specifically in the bylaws, or excuse me, in the rules of order, that communication between individual council members is acceptable, but 3 or more is not acceptable? I guess my only thing with that is that then I think we have to go and clarify that daisy chaining is also not acceptable. And like, these are all things that we get in our legal training.
I don't think we need to restate already established rules in our bylaws, right? We already know those things.
Because I think that falls under open meetings law.
Right. And that's the Bob's rules. Right.
Open meetings law is Colorado's law, where we can't
yeah,
the 4 of us can't go behind closed doors and be like, so anyway, what did you think about this particular piece of legislation without having it noticed and open to the public?
so it's a question of whether we need to reiterate something that's already established elsewhere in our own bylaws, which it doesn't seem like it would be. I do, not necessarily.
And I would just, oh, sorry. Yes, I do. Yeah, I would reiterate that while acceptable for 3 of you to communicate outside of an open meeting, to specifically encourage or to put that in writing could be construed as, encouraging 3 of you to meet. And then we just want to avoid the appearance of impropriety, I think is what we emphasize in all of our trainings. And so while yes, it is acceptable for 3 of you to meet, I don't feel that should be encouraged necessarily, because like the mayor mentioned, daisy chain communications, or if 3 of you get together and then you say, okay, Mayor Green's going to relay this information on, then we're getting into the weeds there of some open meetings violations. So we really do want to encourage substantive council discussions to be in your open meetings, or in your regular meetings, or in your work session. So to put that it's acceptable isn't necessary in my view.
The 4th and final item that Councilmember Edwards said is inquiring if we could include a clause that that respectful questions of city staff are acceptable, but directing staff in any way is unacceptable. I have my own opinions on this, and that is that if we do not go through the way that we have established to include the city administrator, and to either go through the city administrator to staff, or to kind of do like the group email, that what we run into is the sense that even if you're not saying, I want you to do this, that some of the things that we ask, or I'm wondering about this, end up just taking priority over what staff is working on anyway, and may unduly burden them at a time that is not conducive to their ongoing workflow and is a distraction. So I would like to keep that barrier, which can be crossed under certain circumstances, in place, but also because in literally every single other municipality that I talk to, small and large, there is a very firm barrier between council and staff. And that includes really small cities like our own. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with you. I'd rather have our questions go through a city administrator to staff. I mean, if nothing else, the city administrator has to know what's on the minds of city council to understand how to do the job. And I think it would stretch to questions of legal counsel as well.
Yeah.
I don't think council should just be calling the attorney willy-nilly.
That's a good thing to clarify. Lori, do you have feelings on that, of individual council members reaching out to city legal?
So different cities have different opinions on that. I think we have had a good relationship with our existing city attorney's office, that they keep me apprised of legal questions. for two reasons. One, I approve the bills. So when I read the bills and I see that there are things that are on it that they've researched, I have questioned them about, was this really something that your office was asked to do? And the answer is, yes. And I think that some cities can run into the problem that your city attorney's office is your most expensive employee. It really is. And so when you're pushing work to your city attorney, you're racking up a lot of expenses. And if counsel is going directly to the city attorney with tons and tons of questions, you're burning through your budget on legal counsel. So what I've always said to, and we've had an arrangement, is that if you are going to ask our city attorney something, let me know, because sometimes you don't need, and staff is in the same position. Sometimes they've said, I'm going to go to the city attorney and ask the city attorney, what the procurement rule is or whatever. And I say, don't do that. We can save that money and I can give you that answer. So I think there's no prohibition. Obviously, if you need legal guidance, and I've always told staff that you can go get it. Please be cognizant of the fact that our city attorney's office is the most expensive employee, and keep me in the loop so I can approve the bills. And I can also steer you away from having someone spend legal time on things that doesn't need to have legal time spent on it. So our current system is working great. It works just fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you get to a point where your city attorney is saying, enough, I have every council member emailing me 50 questions, maybe you would need to address that. But our current system is working okay, where council and staff either CC me on their questions or just let me know their questions so I can approve the bills and know what we're paying for.
Since we were out, we talked about this fourth question that we had about, being able just to directly approach city staff with questions, but directing them is unacceptable. And actually my feeling was that, we don't know what their workflow is. And so even, questions in there can potentially be a disruption, but also there is this sort of unspoken sense of pressure to prioritize council inquiries over what, and not everybody across the board, but I know it exists too. Even if we don't say like, we're specifically not directing you, it still carries a weight that otherwise, a member of the public necessarily wouldn't. So I was advocating for keeping that still a separate thing and to go through our current process, which is either, through the city administrator and looping in the department that way.
Thanks. And then, pardon me if this was already brought up, but it seems like, to me, this doesn't seem like the document to define that policy. And this seems like how we govern our council rules of order, not, but I don't know, is that?
That's an interesting insight. Yeah, I think that's a really good
I don't know if
framing
there's
to
a
put it
better,
in.
I don't know if there's a better place to define how that process goes.
I think because staff and city administrator inform us that that's how they want to be approached.
Lori, what's your opinion on how to define that process of, is that like a city policy, you think, or?
Usually it's been left. So in the discussion groups I've seen, the Colorado Municipal League, that has been a decision of your city administrator on how they, and as the mayor said, smaller municipalities and smaller towns, you need to have that layer, because I think larger cities aren't going to have council members and staff probably running into each other around town all the time. So I think all the places I've been previously, that has been a decision of the city manager administrator on how they would like to manage two things: the resources of their staff and the resources of their city attorney's office.
We had also talked about having the individual city council members approaching legal with questions. And the general statement there, Lori, if I can paraphrase you, is that please remember that legal is our most expensive employee, and that many questions may be more easily answered by going to the city administrator because they don't really need legal input if we already have had a previous answer to that kind of question. But that also you should also feel free. That is a resource that we have, but not to be
Not to be
cavalier
used.
about it.
Yeah, well, I would support leaving that out of this document and defining it in operation policy set by administrator.
Okay. Okay. What else? Anybody? I will say that when I went through this and I did made everything like in the same font and whatever, for whatever reason, it looks crazy in the packet. It looks like there's font changes, and I go back to what I did in Word to turn into PDF, and it doesn't look like that at all. So I don't know why that happens. But that's not in the Word document that I have. Can't explain it. Except the ghosting machine. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that that it is desired to add essentially the process or the elements of forming a task force around like element 3D. That we're going to leave the whole council acting as an appeal body to the ordinance. We won't put that in. And that the new business section could be clarified to kind of more thoroughly go through our current process, which includes creating a council communication form. You know, once we get it, yes, we want to decide this on council, or we want to talk about this on council, then that council member talks to the city administrator, they determine staff time that is necessary, and then in bringing it back to council forms a council communication form for the essentially the first presentation of that. Is that correct? Okay. My next question is, with those modifications, we have, put this particular resolution in the action items after department reports. Before we get there, would you feel comfortable passing this with those amended pieces? Or would you like to see a final product with those in and look over it once more?
I'd like to approve it tonight with amendments as
With amendments.
discussed.
Agreed, yeah.
Sure.
Ellie, having looked at all of this, is there anything else that you think we need to modify or not?
No, I think as long as we get on the record what you've changed here tonight, just to make it clear, then you're good to move forward.
Okay. All right, let's jump off that bridge when we get there, and I'll try to craft a little language. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, let's move on to department reports. City administrator.
Given that this is my last one, okay, I'm gonna do my last report from here. Okay, so first of all, any questions on the written city administrator's report in the packet?
I had one. Thanks for that too. That was great. In there was referenced an executive committee on the community center.
Yes.
Who's that?
So that is the AMD design team.
Okay.
So the architects, and then it's Ballard King, representatives from Ballard King.
Gotcha.
Then it's Ms. Barrett and myself, and we meet every Friday at 9 a.m.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other? Okay, so I wanted to just, in drafting that report, a few things did stand out to me. I think as you can see on the first 2 pages, the projects that are mostly in the queue are legal agreements and ordinances, multiple ordinances.
and all being teed up for review by the city council. And so given the number and complexity of these and knowing that the council is looking for an interim and then a permanent replacement, for me, I just had just a recommendation in looking at candidates who, in addition to having extensive municipal management experience, just experience in a few areas to keep these priorities moving forward. I would say legal agreement negotiations, training or experience in this area. My history has included past negotiations on a law enforcement IGA with the county, animal shelter IGA with the county, prior regional housing authority IGAs, an IGA with the Office of Emergency Management. Those are just ones that I could think of. And then you can see in this report, upcoming ones are, I'd say the Regional Housing Authority is probably one of the more complicated ones because it is a statutory entity. The Fire Department IGA, which continues to elude passage. I think the negotiations are close, but that kind of requires some future negotiations and understanding of where we've been and some, I think there are a few points that are probably still going to need negotiations. And then our abandoned vehicles contract has turned out to be a little more complicated, and that's just an example of one that, ideally we should have been pretty straightforward, but involved some complicated insurance provisions. So just flagging that. And then I think the second thing is ordinances. So as you can see, I've been teeing up some ordinances with the city attorney's office for passage once each department has the bandwidth to see that forward. And some departments are going to talk to you about their capacity to do that. But things in the queue being just since the last city administrator's report, the film permit ordinance, and there's a recent court decision in Ray People versus Camp, in Ray People versus Simons, which require changes to our municipal code regarding municipal court. So these have been teed up, but definitely require some understanding to get those across the finish line. Some you're going to see that are statutory that just came out of the most recent legislative session. So there are a number of those that are definitely going to be coming your way. So I would say training or experience in drafting ordinances and some knowledge of what our legislative past and future holds. And then I would say agenda management and organization skills. I think part of the success with getting, the council meetings and really getting things done is the ability for council to see and understand and pass things, and the organization and management between getting that from an idea or a statutory requirement to cross the finish line. So understanding that. And then I would say finally, just a strong understanding of community planning and development, because you're going to have a comprehensive plan that is going to need implementation. And that is going to be a big number of priorities on your to-do list. So those are just some things that I just thought I'd point out when I was drafting this that occurred to me that I thought might be helpful. But mainly I wanted to focus my city administrator's report on appreciation. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and thank city staff and our partners. Most of them already left because that's what happens when we have 19 meetings. But I wanted to thank you all. I appreciate your kind words. And what I would say is your dedication to the city and positive attitude towards making the city better has always been an inspiration for me. I think I expressed to each of you that I never saw this just as a job. In each of your interviews, we talked about how it's an exciting time to be in Leadville and the progress that the city is making. And you all make the difference and have made the difference in improving the city. And as some of you know, I'm a big fan of Ted Lasso. For those of you who don't watch the show, the premise of the show is that there's an American football coach who's hired to coach a soccer team in London. And he doesn't know anything about coaching soccer, a sport he knows nothing about. And there are two scenes that stand out for me as I say goodbye to all of you. The first scene is where Ted is having dinner with a reporter who is challenging Ted because he has no knowledge of soccer. And the reporter is basically saying, you're being irresponsible. This community cares about this team, and you need to really think hard about what you're doing. And he says to the reporter, he's like, do you love what you do? you know, what is it you do? He's like, do you love riding? The reporter says, yeah. He says, well, I love coaching. And that is what I love. And I have never seen this. And he said, I'm going to repeat what I said before, never seen this about wins and losses. He said, I never saw coaching as about being about the wins and losses. He said, to me, it's about making my team the best human beings that they can be, the best person they can be on and off the field. And so that's how I felt about all of you. I felt like the wins and losses didn't matter. We're not in this for tallies or checklists or egos. We were always in it to make the city a better place. And I always felt like I, as your manager, wanted to just make you all succeed and help you succeed and help you be a better person. And so I care about you. That's why I was in this. I was not in it for achievements other than making the city a better place, and to let you know that I will always care. The second scene, and this is probably the most famous scene from the show, is a scene where Ted is playing darts. And he's playing darts with the former owner, who's this evil. Throughout the, characters go and turn into better people throughout this show. But this one never does. Rupert is always evil. But this is one of the most touching and my favorite scenes, is Rupert's playing darts with Ted. And he begins to tell Ted a story. And this is what he says. He says, Rupert, all of my life, people have always underestimated me. And I never understood why. But one day, and I was taking my son home from school one day, and I saw this mural. It was a quote by Walt Whitman, and it said, be curious, not judgmental. And he said, that's when it hit me. He said, all these guys who underestimated me weren't curious. If they were, they would have asked questions, and they wouldn't have judged me. And they said, they would have asked questions like, Ted, have you played a lot of darts before? To which Ted answers, yes, I did. And then he proceeds to hit 2 triple 20s and a bullseye. So I say to you, to each of you, be curious and not judgmental. As you go through this job, asking questions and not assuming the worst of anyone. I think we've always tried to do that and repair and build relationships. And the other thing I would say is, the one thing that Ted tried to do was, if you remember in the beginning, he posted a sign that said, believe. In that, believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing, believe in the fact that you are making change. And if you hit a tough spot, I took the liberty, with a little help, of making you all something that you can put up in your office, so that when you don't believe, you can tack this up on the wall crooked. And that way, you all can remember that Ted Lasso was my second favorite person to quote. My first favorite person to quote, as you know, is Abraham Lincoln. When Abraham Lincoln left Springfield, Illinois, to travel to Washington, D.C. to be the 16th president of the United States was in trouble. Slavery was a huge divisional issue. At least one state, South Carolina, had seceded, and many other states were threatening to do so. When he left, he gave many farewell speeches, and this is an excerpt from a couple of them. He says, my friends, no one, not in my situation, can appreciate my feelings of sadness at this parting. To this place and the kindness of these people, I owe everything. That's you. Here I've lived a quarter of a century, and for me, maybe it just feels like that. I have passed from a young to an old man or woman, and with your assistance, we have succeeded. And without your assistance, I would have failed. Let us believe, as some poet has expressed, behind the cloud, the sun is still shining. I bid you an affectionate farewell. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Street Department, Mr. Medina.
Well, that's definitely part of it.
Did you bring any quotes?
What?
Did you bring any quotes? Never.
I will keep those to myself. We'll just get into the report. Last month, we had a lot of weather. We had some good days, we had some bad days. We got some patching done, we got some plowing done. Kept the streets clean, working on getting more of the patching done. I still got a little bit left. We were gonna do so many things this week, but the weather has not been cooperative. So we've got some plans on getting streets painted, stripes painted in parking lots, stuff like that we're gonna catch up on as soon as the weather cooperates enough. Has to be a certain temperature before we can patch or paint. So right now we're just fixing broken things and cleaning the shop. So.
Is it the cleanest it has ever been?
Probably. Probably. I know our trucks are definitely getting regular right now. We've been doing some work out at the cemetery, cleaning up for Memorial Day, picking up all the trash everybody's been cleaning up, and so we've been picking that up on regular intervals. I spoke to the county, they're gonna be putting their dumpster out anytime now for more cleanup. We'll keep in contact with them. Been working with the county to do different things. We swept their parking lot for them, and they have a painter, a striping machine. So we can start doing some of our own striping, which you will probably see in the budget later on to request this year. So we can start doing our own. I'm still gonna have the Tabor Opera House painted by the contractor and stuff, because we would like to get them to measure it out and do it right, and then we can maintain it after that. And that's part of the reason for going after a new striper this next year. There'll be some other requests and stuff like that, but budget season hasn't started yet, so. I think that's pretty close to what we're doing. And they're helping us. We're working back and forth with the county. Mike, I've known Mike for years, so things are working out pretty well back and forth. He needs something, we work out a deal. Trying to work out a deal with the school district right now. I understand they've got 3 unfinished little sheds, and they also want some crosswalks painted. So we're gonna work on a deal. So I'm willing to deal, trying to get things done. We'll see what we can get done that way.
That's the way we get things done.
Any questions in particular?
Questions for Mr. Medina? I would just like to add, just to piggyback on and to thank Tony for continued outreach to CDOT. I know painting, striping our crosswalks, at least on Harrison, which is a CDOT state highway. They got some of them done last year and then vanished. So Tony's been following up with them. Actually, Mr. Finken, who was here, he was down at the Capitol with his student government, and went and talked to Representative McCluskey about our crosswalks, which got her to reach out to CDOT. So between all of this, what we hear from them is we are on their list for this summer. In the same way, like Tony pointed out, we have to have a particular temperature and weather to do patching and striping. It's the same for the torch down that they use. They actually have to have a consistent temperature over 50 before they can really expect that stuff to stick and stay. So I don't expect to see them
I was really
immediately
surprised to see
soon.
them last time they showed up.
Right, because it was
All
kind of
of a
getting
sudden it was
sketchy.
warm enough, it was getting
Yeah,
close, and then
it was kind of.
one of my guys, they were working on the snow dump up there, and they said, CDOT's painting the road. So I went and checked, and sure enough, they were. They got it all done. They're not quite finished, but they will be working on it still.
So we should see them around hopefully sometime this summer is my understanding.
So in the next couple of weeks, what they're supposed to.
If it's, yeah.
This week is
Whether-
supposed to be warm to do all these things and stuff. So we'll hopefully see next week.
So I appreciate the continued outreach and staying on top of that project. Okay,
Anything else?
that's it.
I'd like to
Thanks,
say
sir.
one thing though. Thank you. Before I go emotional. Thank you for everything.
Thanks. sir. Police Department, T-Trapa.
Mayor, council, good evening. As you know, we had a significant theft that was reported to us on Friday. The officers secured the crime scene, and throughout the weekend and the past couple of days, myself and we have an IGA with the county to utilize their evidence technicians. We don't have the staff. Quite frankly, we don't have the crime rate to warrant having evidence technicians because it's so low. But yesterday, myself and two members of the county sheriff's office, their two evidence technicians, went to where the crime occurred and we processed it. And we did recover some evidence. We found some latent fingerprints that were able to evaluate. The difficult part of this now is there's a bunch of people at the facility that I need the fingerprint to compare them to the fingerprints that we're going to send into CDI because they require us to go through that step before we submit fingerprints to them. Over the past 2 months, we've had two significant drug investigations that resulted in search warrants, and several people are now facing charges. 2 or 3 are facing charges in state court and 2 are facing federal charges. So little by little, one by one, we're picking off these problem drug houses or areas. The sad part is it seems like when we conclude these investigations, it almost like it's a vacuum. It creates a vacuum because there's still the demand out there for these drugs, and then others start selling these drugs. We're experiencing a relative calm in the city right now. That's been going on for quite a while. I'm not going to say that crime has been totally eliminated. I go on dispatch and say, hey, we virtually have eliminated crime in Leadville. It's all occurring out in the county. That's true. But the number of violent crimes that we're experiencing have dropped significantly. We're still seeing property crimes, but our violent crime rate is going down substantially. What I'm glad about in regard to that, and the next topic I'm going to cover is staffing. There are still issues we need to address, like loud cars and loud music. So we've been placing a greater emphasis on that. Because there are times where I'll be sitting in my office and I will feel the music as the cars drive by. So we're cracking down on that. Staffing, we currently, in regard to sworn law enforcement officers, we have covering shifts. There are 5 of us. We have 2 part-timers that work a substantial amount of time, generally 32 to 35 hours per week. We have 2 full-time patrol officers that are covering calls for service. And then there's me, so there's a total of 5 of us. But as you've seen, we swore an officer in tonight. We hope to have him out on the road by July 1st. He should be a quick study since he came from the sheriff's office. We currently have an officer, a recruit in the academy. It's one of our CSOs, Destiny. She graduates July 1st. We conducted interviews last week. We had 2 candidates who applied to be patrol officers. And we currently have 2 open positions. One is the detective sergeant position and one is a patrol officer position. We've been having a very difficult time getting applications for the detective sergeant position. However, today I had a lieutenant from another department contact me and he's interested in applying for that position. And I'm meeting with him on June 4th. Because I don't know this person at all, but I want to evaluate him, ask him some questions, see what his interest is, and we'll take it from there. And we're also entering the budget season. In my evaluation of the police department, in regard to the 2 open positions we have, I'm considering not filling one of them because that's a substantial cost to the city so that we can enter this budget season on hopefully a positive note. Because employees cost a lot of money. And as I evaluate the police department, I think this position may not be necessary to fill. I think we'll have plenty of coverage for our needs. And again, we do have a very, very low crime rate. I made the comment in the past that we have a lot of crime in Leadville that has not been reported. I think that's getting better because we have gotten the community's trust back in the police department, law enforcement as a whole in the whole county. So people are coming to us with their crime concerns. They're reporting their crime. But still, we have a relatively low crime rate. A lot of people still don't lock their doors. A lot of people leave their keys in their cars. And the only stolen car I've dealt with in the past 18 months is a stolen car that was coming through the city of Leadville with GPS in it. So we were contacted to pull over and we recovered. So we're very fortunate in, you know, we do have issues, we do have problems, but we're much more fortunate than many other communities. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
My favorite part is the highlights with a 0 that's actually highlighted. Fire and rescue. Lori was,
So, fire chief is, off today. And so I just wanted to report that they had a wonderful ceremony, this Saturday out at Fire Station 2. I think Todd spoke to the chief today and he said he thought it was one of the best that they've had yet. So this is their annual event, acknowledging, their pinning and, also their advancement of employees through the ranks. And I think this is just a testament to the, you know, the longevity and the work that our chief has put into developing his staff. I think, like you said, I just want to thank the fire department admin, Lori Ty, who does a significant amount of organizing for that event to make sure it's a success. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions back to the chief that you may have.
I would just also like to pile on to what Lori said, that that celebration and the swearing in at Fire Station 2 was amazing. And I've been to 2, and this was definitely, you know, next level from last year or the last one, and the last one was great. This was really well attended. There was a lot of celebration and a few tears as they said, celebrated Chief Dave McCann, because he'll be retiring on July 4th. And as Chief Daly said, on that day, we'll be celebrating the nation's independence, and Chief McCann will be celebrating his own independence. So there was also, I have to throw this in, but they had a cake for Chief McCann that was one of those, you know, rectangle cakes with the frosting was piled up to look like flames. It was red and orange, and then the top of the cake had kind of like the impression of this kind of the seal that the fire department uses. And I'm at the end of this long table, and Chief Daly is leaning over, and he's looking like he's trying to light a candle that I can't see because this pile of frosting. And so then I see this flame come up. He's successful, and then the flame gets bigger and bigger. And then the flame starts spreading, and it goes over the entire top of the cake. And that top of the cake was actually fake. And it burned across and out to the sides of the frosting, revealing underneath the cake with a beautiful sweet message to Chief McCann on it. And we were all like, I've never seen anything like this before. So shout out to Sherry at Silver Llama. I was like, what did you do? She said, I've always wanted to try this. So just, you know, if you need a flammable cake that's really impressive, try that one. Okay, that's awesome. Human resources.
So as Chief said, for open positions and things, that is in my closed vacancies, for Hanson, since he just was sworn in, and Baraza out in the academy. We also have other closed vacancies of, the animal shelter. We hired their assistant manager. We got 3 docents hired for the summer for the museums, so those both will be open this year. And the fire department, I believe we're super close to choosing the final candidate for the deputy administrative assistant. So definitely busy on interviews. And then City Hall for open vacancies, and this was last week. So we have a City Hall part-time administration assistant, animal shelter, we have a kennel tech, and then like Chief said, for the police department, the sergeant detective as well. And now we'll have Allie's position open and Lori's position open. So I haven't had a chance to add those, but definitely busy in all these different hirings. I am going to the annual Colorado Prima Conference. I was one of 4 that was selected for a scholarship. So I get to go to that. It is for risk management professionals. So I'm really excited for that. That will be in August. So that's a great fun thing that I get to go learn more of. Annual training started on May 11th. We had one yesterday, so those are going a little more smooth. Just working on trainings and learning the new Tyler system that we hopefully can roll out sooner than later.
Questions for Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Who is the deputy administrative assistant for the fire department most recently?
That is, I don't,
It's new.
it's a new position.
Oh, it's a new
So,
position.
yes, that one's new, but I don't know which candidate they chose, because we had a top 3.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's
yes.
fine. I was just wondering if it was someone being
No.
replaced or.
No, that was a new one, but yes, we had very good candidates for that, so we had to choose 3 out of everyone that applied, so that was great.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is SHRM training?
Oh, sure, sorry.
SHRM.
Sure, that is to get certified. I've been working on that. They even send me little reminders if I slack from it, like, oh, you haven't been in training lately. So I have a final exam anywhere from May to July that I can take and sit for that exam. So if you ever look at my calendar, you'll see 8:30 to 9:30, sometimes 10:30, I have it blocked off to do in trainings and get all that information absorbed along with all the other trainings that I do.
And what is it? Is the topic of it? I don't know what SHRM.
Oh, sorry, it's to be certified as HR.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
HR in the middle. I got it there.
Yes, and then eventually, after I have that under my belt for a few years, I can get certified as a senior HR.
Okay.
It's the Society of Human Resources Managers. It's the
Great.
main organization for human resources.
Yes, yes.
And congratulations on the scholarship.
Yes, I was so excited. They asked for anyone to apply and we had to say why it would be great for us. So I'm super excited for that.
Fantastic.
Yes, it's over in Steamboat, so it's a great place to go.
Undeniably.
Yes.
Great.
I just have one comment. I attended my annual training yesterday. I was dreading it. And it ended up being kind of fun. It was fun to do in a group of people, and it turns out that Alicia is absolutely hilarious. And lunch was good too.
Yes,
Oh my
yes,
gosh,
I really can't wait.
really did. Yes.
Now I'm looking forward to it.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yes, we got it.
I think animal shelter also, was there anything that Caitlin checked out to you?
Our manager is out, but I wanted to introduce Jessica Evanovis. She is here on joining us by Zoom. She is the new assistant manager for the animal shelter, and she has been working with the existing staff, just getting up to speed and learning things and keeping the animal shelter running smoothly. So I just wanted to acknowledge Jessica. And I didn't tell her this, but if she would like to say anything, she can. But if not, I understand, because I don't always let folks know we're going to put them on the spot. But yeah, she's doing a great job. She's been with us for almost a month now. And so we want to welcome Jessica.
Welcome, Jessica. Okay. I would also remain shocked. Deputy City Clerk.
Hi, sorry, I was trying to figure out how
yes.
to
Okay.
turn my microphone on, but thank you so much for introducing me. Yeah, I look forward to the Animal Advisory Board meeting coming up Thursday. So that's kind of where I'd like to target some questions. I wasn't a little bit prepared to speak tonight, but I do appreciate that. I've got a lot of questions, observations. I'm excited to be here. I'm happy to work along Steph. She's got, strong background already in the community, which has been super helpful, and just trying to get things on track while Caitlin is out. So yes, thank you so much for the introduction, and I look forward to working with y'all.
Great. Welcome, Jessica. Look forward to seeing you at the meeting as well. Okay, Deputy City Clerk.
Good evening, council. So I'd like to start by adding my own 2 cents in about Lori's retirement. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Lori in her retirement. I've only been here a short 8 months, but working for Lori has been one of the most meaningful experiences of my career. Lori strikes an incredible balance of trust, support, and encouragement, and it allows people to grow while still feeling guided and supported along the way. Lori leads in a way that consistently raises everyone around her up. I've learned so much from the way that she approaches civic engagement, leadership, and everyday interactions with kindness, the utmost professionalism, and integrity. I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to have worked alongside her, and she will be incredibly missed despite my own departure. The most meaningful part of working for Lori has been learning what strong, steady, and supportive leadership truly looks like in practice. She makes the people around her better at what they do and more confident in who they are as professionals. I can confidently say that she is the best boss I've ever had the opportunity to serve. You'll say that. With that being said, many of you know that I have also submitted my resignation, as my husband and I will be moving to Wyoming for a new opportunity. So going into my actual department report, over the next few weeks, my focus will be on preparing updated clerk manuals, very specifically our clerk manual, which has trainings and information and links on all of the essential clerk functions, and then as well as creating documents with key contacts, procedural materials, just making sure that whoever comes in next does support it. I do plan on leaving my personal number for that with the incoming clerk as well. And I also want to mention, shout out to Alicia. She's not here anymore, but she had a position posted before I even came in on Monday morning. So I have the utmost faith that the continuity of this role will be maintained. So I know a lot of you have been waiting on short-term rental information after the renewal period. I really apologize, but we've had a few factors arise that have impacted our final numbers. So right now we're finalizing the renewal determinations in Class 2 availability. And given that there are about 42 applicants on the wait list currently, we just want to make sure we have the exact numbers before we announce anything out loud. So I'll be going over that with Lori in the next week, and we'll make sure to get that information out to you guys and let you know how many people came off the wait list. We have lots of very excited wait list applicants as well. The rest of my report is just kind of general clerk functions. Between March and April, we processed about 6 core requests. We had topics including short-term rental licensing information, and cities, financial purchasing records, a lot of similar stuff. We also had a CERC representative come and provide a training, so a few of us got to learn a lot more about CORA and other important factors in municipal government. A really interesting part of that training was on AI. So I really enjoyed kind of learning from a lawyer how to use it correctly and appropriately in the workplace. For business licensing updates, business licensing has remained pretty steady. We process, anywhere from 5 to 15 new business licenses and renewals every month, probably more. As well. So right now we have a few contractor-based businesses. We have a few ongoing food truck applications that are awaiting public health and fire inspections. And I also just want to mention that it's been so amazing having Claire Hamilton as the part-time fire inspector. I can already tell that people are having an easier time just getting those inspections done. There's not a delay there. For liquor licensing, we're continuing to process annual liquor renewals. We've had about 7 in the last 2 months. I'm kind of going over March 8th and April since we did miss our March reports. So one aspect, we're waiting on the Rocky Mountain Thai Kitchen liquor license approval. They've gotten back to us about 3 times asking for more documentation. I have faith that this will be the last time and they'll be approved immediately. And then we're also just working towards criminal justice information systems compliance with IT, so making sure policies are updated, and there's also a technology side to that I don't understand that IT absolutely does, just regarding computer security. So we have for website and public access updates. Doc Access has started working on the ADA accessibility for our website. I just want to give a brief overview because I'm not sure that I have. This function is similar to Audio Eye. So if any of you have ever been on the website and seen the little person in the corner, that can give you website ADA accessible information, but then the doc access is for website content, so PDFs specifically. So that'll function very similarly, where there will be an overlay that provides information on what that page is talking about that meets those ADA accessible requirements. So yeah, looking ahead, as this is my final real council meeting, I will be here next week. I wanted to close by saying thank you to all of you. This role has been an incredibly significant part of my professional growth, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have learned and developed alongside this amazing team and city council. I've been in Leadville since I was 17 years old, and I've had many concerns over the years about the direction of our community, and I'm so grateful to leave knowing that I've worked alongside an incredible team, and that public service and community remain at the heart of their work and priorities. So I'm just so proud of what we've accomplished in the clerk's office, and I'm confident in the continued growth and strength of not only the clerk's department, but the whole city moving forward. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ally. You've truly leveled up the function of the deputy city clerk department. It just gets better and better. And the state that I think that you're leaving it in is a really optimistic one, and one that I think somebody will be able to enter and just keep that ball rolling forward smoothly because of all of your hard work.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a privilege.
Yeah.
I hope you're able to take your magnificent skills and help another community wherever you're at.
I hope so. I will be going back to school, so that is my plan as my plan.
Nice. That's great.
Which was just so great earlier in the meeting. Now all of a sudden they're sad. Community development and planning.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For tonight's update from my department, I will share screen. In your packet, you are seeing for the first time our report out of our cloud permitting system and code enforcement software. So just for a little bit of background for anyone who is unfamiliar with this, we brought cloud permit online for code enforcement mid-2025, and we brought it online for all e-permitting in January 2026 of this year. So what you're seeing on the screen is kind of our first time reporting out to you using this program. So as you click through the first few pages, first page in your packet, you can follow along on page 45 to match what I have on the screen now. You'll see everything that we are working on in terms of permits for the year to date. And then as you click through, you will also see reporting out on our code enforcement. And we've kind of broken that out into 3 categories. Again, this is zoning code enforcement program, the interdepartmental enforcement program that we operate with the police department and the assistance of the community service officers. So you will see 3 pages of complaints, categories, inspections, and cases. You can see all the work that's being done in the community for code enforcement. Also, on the first page of my report in your packet on page 44, just trying a new way to communicate to you the activities of your 2 commissions. So on page 44, you have some links to the meetings for your 2 commissions, Planning and Zoning Commission and Historic Preservation Commission. That's P&Z and HPC. And if you click any of those links, I'm going to try to use this format going forward. It certainly saved a lot of packet pages. This month, we'll try to use that going forward. But if you click those links, you can have access to see on the city's website what's the activities of your commissions. So since I last reported to you, we've had 8 commission meetings. We've cranked out 8 packets. We've had public hearings, et cetera. So you can access the agendas, the packets, and the minutes and the recordings for all those meetings. Your commissions do a lot of hard work in this community. So just want to make sure you have the opportunity to stay informed if you have the time to click those links. I will give an update just on our legislative progress for the year. So these are resolutions and ordinances that I work with the city attorney to bring to you. And, this will, get to one of the council members' questions from earlier on in the meeting. But on your screen, and this is page 53 of your packet, you've seen this first, you see this each month, but this is the list of legislative items that we were working on for 2026. And then we have everything that we have outlined for 2027 also going into the second page. So right now we are, let's see if I can draw on the screen here, or I will highlight, we're working on these two items. So that's your comprehensive plan and the building code ordinance, which is on the agenda for tonight. Next up, we will have some development agreements for affordable housing. And then this summer, we will be working on some housekeeping items that are required by the state to comply with state law. So that gets into zoning code ordinances to clean up some language. And then this fall, we are looking at your strategic plan objectives regarding incentive zoning and an annexation policy. And then trying to wrap up the year if we have the time for the end of the year with things like the HPC decisions ordinance that I mentioned earlier, or that we discussed earlier, and some other things identified by the comprehensive plan, like exterior lighting. But I will highlight, this is the strategic plan objective that we discussed earlier on in the meeting. There was a question about during the bylaws discussion. So that would be the ordinance that would make a code amendment so it's commission decisions come in front of city council on their consent agenda instead of a default public hearing. So we have that prioritized for this fall, and that would be, we would not need to work with a consultant on that, so we would try to work on that concurrently with some of these other ordinances that we're doing. But we need to get through the comp plan, building codes, because those are such big projects that really dominate the first half of this year. So in other words, first half of the year, these big projects, comp plan, building codes, this summer housekeeping, comply with state law, and then this fall getting to some of those items we've been desiring for a while, like this one that's highlighted here. A couple other department activities to make you aware of. This is going to be somewhere around page 55 of your packet. Wanted to report out that there's a lot of inquiries about rail yard phase 2 and phase 3 right now. So these are the vacant portions of what we know as the rail yards. Lots of interest on phase 2 from potential purchasers of that property. That High Country Developers is looking to, as we gather, is looking to sell that property to other developers. And then rail yards phase 3 is very active. The company that you would know as Fading West, the modular housing developer, is looking to sell that property to another interested buyer developer who would use a very experienced consulting group to bring a large development onto phase 3 that would have an affordable housing component. These discussions, as they try to stack their capital for that project, have been supported by the Regional Housing Authority. So that's the rail yard update. In terms of your comp plan, I want to report out there's been a lot of activity since I last reported to you in the last 2 months. Right now, we are in the final public comment portion online of this that began on April 28th when the first draft of the comprehensive plan was published and put online. That was the same day as the open house that we had. And that will run for 1 month. And we also have a rotating exhibit that you may have seen in some of the community buildings in City Hall here for a week. And that was all just trying to gather as much final public comment on this project before we go to the June adoption Planning and Zoning Commission. And then that will come before you on July 7th for a resolution. And then my final update on workload is, and I'll stop sharing here, is that I will be writing a job description for our housing planner, which will be funded by the Department of Local Affairs Local Planning Capacity Grant. And I hope to hire for that person in July or August. Yep. And then I'll add a few final closing words. I'm just going to go to voting for this. Others have said this. Lord, I'm not going to look at you so I don't get emotional here. So I'll address council. Others have said this better than I could tonight. And obviously the council received my words of appreciation in my letter to the council. Hold on. I meant what I said. Lori, I appreciate you. Ooh. My family appreciates you. This community appreciates you. Through this, you've led this organization, and spearheaded us into a new era. We can do the good work we can in our department because of you. All of us in our department appreciate you. Without your support, your leadership, and your vision, instead of I was gonna look at you. Without your vision, we couldn't do the good work. Because of you, people will continue to say that they love Leadville. Thank you.
Look here so I can see you all better.
Can I ask JP one
Oh,
more
I'm
question?
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Skip over it.
It was worth it. What are you seeing as the trend of, workload? Is it increasing? Is there more interest and more applications for all of the different things you get applications for, or kind of steady or declining, or what's that look like right now?
I would say that we are constantly bumping up against capacity or over capacity in terms of zoning inquiries. So that means we don't have a great system for having like a log or reporting out or having data for zoning inquiries. But I know that it is consistent, and it is, and that workload is spread out across our 3 current staff.
Yeah.
So
Definitely not declining.
Definitely not declining. But I don't know that it's not like we have a backlog of, that's been drastically more than the past. It's just consistent.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Other questions for? Okay, thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I will give you some brief highlights of items that weren't necessarily drawn out in my department report, and then take any questions on financials, bills, etc. So for the first thing I want to start off with is, sorry, do you need this?
Hang on.
It is the investment in Colorado Trust. Since I drafted the my department report, I have since moved the remaining balances that were in the prime funds. They still sit, they still exist. I have moved all of those remaining small balances into each entity's plus accounts for the higher yield. So going forward, unless things change, everything has been moved to plus because there's a higher yield. You'll see your year-to-date interest earnings on those accounts for the general fund, fire department accommodations, as well as the 2B initiative. That is on that. Year-to-date, we have used, or the year has lapsed 33%. When you're looking at the financials, there might be some departments that are over budget as of right now at a higher percentage. Those are mostly due to large expenses early on in the year. We just made the big payment to E911, which was roughly 368,000, I believe, right around there. So some of those will make departments look like they're running a little over. As we get through the year, they'll catch up on those, as well as the community contributions. We usually fund those towards the beginning of the year. Those would be for the larger payments for the Tabor Opera House, as well as Leadville Main Streets, and not necessarily those that come twice a year for the community contributions. Sorry, I'm blind, so I have to scroll a lot because it's very vague. Sales tax. Currently, we are up 8.6% from the same period last year. There has been some communication on the finance listserv through CML. Somebody posed a question a week or so ago to see how municipalities were tracking. Of the respondents, the average is about 5.5% increase over the same period last year. So just kind of watch that and hope that we continue to get the visitors to our city. I know it's a little tougher with the gas prices and whatnot, but right now we're still seeing a trend and up from last year, so that's good. I'll keep an eye on that. Only other updates I really have that wasn't in my report is that I did reschedule with the auditor. We did schedule a date. She was scheduled to be here in person the week of May 11th. I had a family medical emergency, was out of town, so I reached out to her and we decided that it would be best to reschedule. So she will be here the week of June 29th, and we will probably look at filing an extension depending on how things go. By that, meaning that I will be out intermittently and available remotely beginning June 4th through probably mid to late August. I'm getting new needs. Both of them. Yes. So that was part of the change for the auditor coming in. Hopefully we're hoping that by the last week of June into early July that will be fairly well. Everything is reconciled and maybe there won't be a need for the extension, but we're keeping that in our back pockets. And then those are the updates I have that are different from that.
A couple of questions, if I may, please. Thank you, Crystal. I remember last year, and correct me if I've got the details wrong, there's something about the sequencing of the Lura audit and the city audit and that was contributing to some delays, and I forget on which end. Is that
correct?
Feel smoother
So
this year, or is it?
The Lura is a component of the city of Leadville.
Uh-huh.
So in order to complete our audit, we have to have the completed Lura audit as well because it belongs or it's reported in the city financial statements for the audit. So there was some delay in getting their final draft last year, so that prompted us to have to file an extension. Even if we do file an extension this year, I've talked with Lillian regarding the audit. We're hoping that it won't go into September, that we can wrap it up in August. Now again, it's dependent on when we get to those final audit for the Lura, as well as the back work that Stephanie and I are doing.
Mayor, do you know if that sequencing is being taken into account in the Lura?
So I've talked to Carrie about it, and so that is what obviously we're looking for. My understanding is the Lura audit will be done before July 31st. I think she said just a couple weeks or a few weeks. And then, but I also know after talking with you, since we'll be filing for an extension, that won't be, quite the barrier that it was last year. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Right.
This is significantly earlier for Lura this year.
And I would assume they follow the same guidelines that we are required to file by July 31st. So once they have that completed, then we can, and that's, I think, where Lillian was thinking that, if they file up until the July 31st deadline, then we could pull that data and hopefully.
they understand that particular deadline, but I'm just encouraged because it's so much earlier than last year, and then we can kind of keep the pressure on to slide it back and give us breathing room when we get back, when you are fully healed and bionic and can take on the world.
Yes, I'm hopeful. I don't know what to expect. But as I go crazy sitting at home, and if my husband is willing to drive me down here, you might catch me in the back somewhere, setting up until, I don't know what to expect. So my goal is to be back as soon as possible and not have to be at home 24/7 for 3 months.
One other question, if I may, on page 69, towards the bottom, the row ending 6901, office equipment expenditures, that's way over. Can you speak to what that is? It's under police department.
What line item?
0160069001.
My guess is, without trying to log into Cassell, is I believe that's where they put all of their new office furniture. So they got better set up for officers, privacy, and as well as administrative staff. I believe that is where we put all of it.
It's a vastly improved setup.
Nice. Okay.
Let's say I am
Thank you.
still here, but
Yeah.
I believe that's where all of that office is.
Okay.
I can log into the account, I can need more detail, and email you that.
No need. Thank you.
Other questions on financials? All right. Sales tax comparisons, we sort of alluded to that earlier. Scrolling madly through the packet to get to them.
I love the sales tax graph.
I do too.
Yeah, that's good news. The accommodations tax is not, but
something
sales taxes.
Yes, and I'm still like keeping an eye on that of, late payers, is it, is that part of the problem?
I mean, it was such a down winter. It doesn't surprise me that it would be down. But-
Right. With, yes, skating and whatnot being. That's great.
I hope the RHA's tuned into that. Do you know?
That the accommodations tax. Yeah,
Is
I know, yeah. I think Becky is aware of it, but yeah, it's not the topic we've, had discussion. But I will actually meet tomorrow and definitely, mention that.
And I think that's something I know that you and I had talked about in terms of the accommodations tax fund balance of the value of leaving a little bit of cushion in there because we can anticipate some down years. And we still would like the Regional Housing Authority to continue. in
Right.
full capacity.
And, accommodations, was reported in April for Q1, which includes March. So, I know Ski Doring, still had an excellent turnout. So yeah, it's a little bit concerning that it's day visitors that just come in, from range. For the day.
All right.
It makes me wonder, is there like I should probably know this from years past, but is there like a compliance check on if it seems to be that license holders have not been remitting fully or?
Well, we have deferred for compliance if they're,
Yeah,
if they're showing postings, but it doesn't seem like they're reporting for those items.
and is that something that like happens automatically or do we have to like run a Deckard check in order to check that?
We do have to use, we do have to check Deckard manually, so I know, before I announced my departure, Alex and I had plans to sit down and do some compliance work. I can say that people who haven't renewed their licenses, or maybe even need to double check, but, Union Revs also sends out, letters and emails when people have not filed, so that's another way, but.
So my question, if we're pursuing a contract or having the city have an agreement with Airbnb anyway to collect those taxes, we lose that compliance information because they bundle everything.
Right.
But would it still be like, do we know from Deckard, like what is the percentage of Airbnb versus like VRBO versus Kayak versus, like, is there still a rationale to have compliance software if we start making these agreements with the larger platforms that do the tax collecting?
No. No, you wouldn't renew the compliance, that part of Deckard. So if the taxes are being collected at the time someone's making a reservation, then that is being collected at the time of the reservation and we receive that money, you wouldn't need to back end. I don't think there's any way Deckard could tell you if that was being permitted through Airbnb. You have to go to Airbnb at that point as that point of collection to get them. So you wouldn't need that. At least you wouldn't need that portion of the Deckard software.
Yeah. Do you think that we would need, an equivalent agreement with VRBO?
Yes.
Yeah.
You need them with all the entities, but we determined that you have to do them separately.
Yeah.
And you have to run an ordinance for each one separately. So I mean, that's again, the capacity of the deputy city clerk's department to, clean this up and run that ordinance system.
It seems like relieving the deputy city clerk, ultimately, it's a lot of work up front, but relieving that compliance review and, that.
I will say for finance too.
And for finance. Yeah.
So the only downside is that Deckard does allow us to see the legal posting, so even if we don't have financial information, that is kind of the only way that we can go through all of them. But I also believe that that is work that could be done manually, just going through and comparing licenses with Airbnb and VRBO, because the people who are truly out of compliance and renting often, I think they could be located without Deckard.
The compliance software that includes both payments, but also illegal, postings.
Exactly. And that encompasses all Airbnb, VRBO, and any other rental websites.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Other sales tax questions? Let's move on to bills. Which there were a lot. Are there questions about any of the bills? If there are no questions on bill, I'm sorry, did you have?
Nope.
I would entertain a motion to pay them.
Clerk moves to pay the bills.
20 seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
I just want to add that, Hillary mentioned that she did not actually think that a post ratification of paying the bills after they had been paid was really necessary for us, that we should see them and look over them, but that we didn't really have to approve them.
Okay. So we don't have to do that
With
anymore?
the new software, we can put those approvals in place where they are digital, so they could be approved before they're actually paid.
But I mean, they already get some, like currently.
Yes,
we have
and
them
there is an
get
approval
signed.
process, right? We don't just,
Mayor and city administrator are looking at the checks, comparing the invoices, questioning, you know, if it's not clear what this was for, who approved it, or, so there is that approval process during the checks meeting.
Well, consider that. I'm excited to see what this looks like through time.
We have entered the second phase, still very early collecting data. We've sent them, our data through, end of April, I believe. So they're kind of building stuff in the background, and then they'll spit it back out to us. We'll have the opportunity, to update the general ledger, remove accounts that are no longer used, and then we'll do the same with what employees are being brought into the system, so on and so forth. And once we get finance and HR up and running, then the other modules will come on as well. So we have very, very early in talks with the licensing for deputy city clerk, as well as courts, because finance and HR has to be permanent people. Lots of training, lots of training.
Well, at least what I've seen, you know, like watching community development and planning implement cloud permit is like so much work up front to make it what you need for your department is incredible. The outcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our goal right now, we did have a meeting, last Thursday, so we have a standing, Thursday bi-weekly meeting with our project manager. So right now our goal is to, be live, in December. So that we have a clean start, in January of 27.
And that's gonna be a huge year.
So, and we're not working on audit, we're working on that, we're paying bills, so. I'll get it.
Great. Good. Thank you.
Lori, I will also say thank you. It has been an honor and privilege, and I thank you for the opportunity. Best of luck. I'm a little jealous. Let me know how retirement goes so I can start thinking about that.
We're gonna go running after you.
Oh, New East.
Yeah.
We're
We're
gonna
gonna
start
start running.
And I didn't run before, so.
So.
Now's the time.
Okay, it is just after 8 p.m. and we just have a few action items remaining. Do you guys want to take a quick break?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. It is 8:07. I will see you back at 8:12.
Is that an option?
Are you recording?
Yes, we're back.
Okay, so it is 8:13. Welcome back. We're going to move on to action items, the first of which is resolution number 17, series of 2026, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Leadville approving the City Council rules of order. The notes that I took down, well, first of all, is there any other discussion that has come up for you in the intervening hour? Okay, so what I put up, and Ellie, I would like your input on this, but if we have a motion to approve that, would it be okay to say amended with the addition of the process for forming a task force in Article 3 and clarifying, or I guess they're both in Article 3, and clarifying the process for a council member bringing new business before council by adding the creation of a council communication form for council discussion. First of all, does that grasp, Rebecca, what you were looking for?
Yes. What you just said might have been too complicated.
Yeah.
What was the first part of what you just said?
The process for forming a task force, like adding that. Here is how we form a task force.
Okay, yes. I wonder if we need that if we do a council communication form.
But one is for new business, right?
Oh, right.
And one is for.
Yes. Yeah, that works.
Yes, I mean, I don't know, is it creating a task force also new business? Sort of, not, kinda, should we just lump that all together?
We could lump it together and then make it clear with the council communication form if it's new business or a task force. That might be simpler. And then there's just one piece of paper.
With the addition of clarifying the process for bringing new business before council. New business before council, by adding the creation of a council communication form for either new business or task force creation.
Maybe we don't need to add
The task force, we just say that's
creation.
new
It's
business.
For new business, and new business can look like a lot of different things.
Right, amended with the addition of, for clarifying the process for bringing new business before council by adding the creation of, or the necessity or the requirement to create a council communication form for discussion.
I think that's simpler.
Thank you. Since we lost our semiotics guy, now we have a wordsmith, so it's just great, it's equivalent. Okay. So what this amendment says, amended with the addition of clarifying the process for bringing new business before council by adding the requirement of a council communication form, by adding the requirement of including a council communication form.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the amendment. So if you are interested in passing this resolution, I would entertain a motion as amended.
Barb moves to approve resolution number 17, series of 2026, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Leadville, amending and adopting City Council rules of order as amended.
Second. Thank you for making that much easier. I started writing all this down.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Grant? Councilmember Edwards? Councilmember Carey?
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yes.
Councilmember Joel?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Green?
Yes. Thank you. I will make those amendments and get it passed. I'll try to make the formatting normal in a PDF. I do not know why that changed so much. Okay,
Cool.
we're gonna.
That's a big,
Yeah, that's a big accomplishment. Congratulations, people.
Oh, and I forgot, do we have to terminate the work group? The bylaws work group?
I'll do that in the next meeting. I wanted to make sure we passed
Oh,
this
yeah.
before I went
I
and
just
terminated.
passed it. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah. I'll terminate it next time. I just didn't know what to expect after last time. Okay, we're gonna move on to our second action item, which is the second reading of ordinance 3, series of 2026, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Leadville approving by reference to 2024 versions of the International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Mechanical Code, International Plumbing Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Fire Code, International Existing Building Code, International Energy Conservation Code, and the 2023 National Electric Code, providing penalties for violations thereof, and amending Title 15 of the Leadville Municipal Code to reflect the same. So this is a second reading of this ordinance. We adopted the first ordinance, or excuse me, the ordinance on first reading on May 5th, 2026. Because this is the second and final reading of the ordinance, City Council will follow these steps. First, I will ask that city staff give any presentation or provide any information that they have to City Council about the ordinance. City Council will have the chance to ask questions of staff and have discussions with staff during the staff presentation. Next, I will invite the public to provide any comments on the ordinance that they would like City Council to consider. Any member of the public who wishes to speak on the ordinance may speak one at a time, and each person will have no more than 3 minutes to comment. Finally, council will discuss and vote on the ordinance. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing for ordinance number 3, series of 2026. This title, I presume you all remember and can recite by heart. Staff.
Continue this. Oh, we did.
Staff, would you like to give presentations?
Mayor and council, I will be referring to my notes digitally when I get here tonight. I tried to print it, but due to the length of the title, print reading. Mayor and council, this ordinance, if adopted on the second reading, would update Title 15 of the city's municipal code, which is our building code. And it would update our building code from 2018 series of the International Code Council codes, the ICC codes, to generally the 2024 I codes. The exception being it would adopt the 2023 version of the National Electric Code. We are doing this jointly with Lake County. This is a joint effort, and you have a recommendation before you for the Board of Review from Lake County. Staff's request tonight is to continue this public hearing. We have a series of 3 public notices / publications that we're required to do per state statute. There was an issue with the second, and so what we do is continue this hearing tonight to next Tuesday for a special meeting where we'll have the continuation of the second reading and the public hearing. One of the reasons that we do need to have this continue to next week is because we have an important state deadline of July 1st. The details of that are spelled out in your council communication form, but it affects the energy code adoption if we do not have this public hearing next week and then have the ordinance effective 30 days afterwards, then we run the risk of having it being effective after July 1st, which would mean we would technically have to adopt a more stringent energy code. Because of our governmental agreement with Lake County, they're on track, we want to stay on track so that we can, our building department can essentially enforce both codes for both jurisdictions. So staff recommendation request is to continue this second reading and public hearing to next Tuesday, a date certain of May 26th. There's a proposed motion on page 115 of your packet. I will note that there's an attachment to the council communication form, which is the red lines to the changes that the city attorney's office has made to this ordinance from first reading. And to be determined if we include the red line version or a clean version at second reading, but at least right now you have a preview, sneak peek of what you will see at second reading and start kind of wrapping your head around the changes from first reading.
Okay. Thank you. The initial presentation is concluded. I will now open the public comment portion of the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public who would like to give comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public comment portion of the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, staff recommended that this public hearing be continued until our special meeting on May 6th. May I have a motion?
May,
26th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, May 26th. What did I say?
May
6th. May 6th.
Yeah.
I wrote 26. I said 6. It's time for me to go to bed.
All right.
Continue until our special meeting on May 26th, Tuesday.
It's so late.
You did the last time.
I told you you had to do it in
Joe
one
did
breath.
it.
Oh,
I
Joe.
was going to do it just looking at Chapin.
In
but
one
I got
breath.
A couple of them out of order.
Okay, you go for it.
I move to continue the second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 3, series of 2026, and ordinance of the City Council of the City of Leadville adopting by reference the 2024 versions of the International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Mechanical Code, International Plumbing Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Fire Code, International Existing Building Code, International Energy Conservation Code, and the 2023 National Electrical Code, providing penalties for violations thereof, and amending Title 15 of the Leadville Municipal Code to reflect the same. I further move to continue the second reading and public hearing of this ordinance to the City Council special meeting on May 26th, 2026.
5 seconds.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Carey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grimm, Councilmember Edwards, Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Tulloch,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Green.
Yes. Thank you very much. Can't wait to say this all again. All right, it's gonna take me just a hot second to scroll through this ordinance. to get-
185.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so moving on to our final action item of the evening.
Sorry.
This says resolution number 20. I, on my council communication form and on the agenda, when we looked back, there was a little movement of different resolutions. This is actually going to be resolution number 19. So I think the final version on the web says 19. And that is what, when, and if we make a motion, it should reflect the resolution number 19. So this is resolution number 19, series of 2026, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Leadville authorizing disbursement of accommodations tax revenue to the Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority. So we did discuss this at our last meeting, and that we talked about the accommodations tax and how over prior years where we didn't really disperse to the Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority as they were being formed into their present form, we ended up accumulating accommodations tax that was intended to go to them, but didn't because they had no particular budget or need for it. So in the budget that the Regional Housing Authority presented to council last year, they identified, an impact fund that the Regional Housing Authority could use to direct funding to critical housing projects or needs in a way that using their expertise and their interactions with the community would reflect kind of boots on the ground knowledge of where it would be best spent. The finance director and I reviewed the accumulated accommodations tax revenue and identified $150,000 available from the Regional Housing Authority, available to the Regional Housing Authority from prior years accumulation that could be directed towards the impact fund. Additionally, the accommodations tax revenue is typically directed to the Regional Housing Authority budget for the executive director salary. This amount of $85,421 was in their budget that they presented at the end of last year, but has not yet been dispersed this year for their fiscal year 2026 budget. So this resolution number 19, series of 2026, releases $150,000 to the impact fund and $85,421 to the executive director salary for 2026. So in combination, the fiscal impact would be $235,421 from the accommodations tax revenue fund. And that's where we are. So I know we've discussed this previously, but does anybody have any other questions or comments? Okay. I have included in the packet, resolution number 19 itself and the budget that was submitted, for 2026 by the Regional Housing Authority. If there are no questions or no further discussions, I would request a motion with that resolution number change being clear.
Thomas moves to approve resolution number 19, series of 2026, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Leadville authorizing disbursement of accommodations tax revenue to the Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Carey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grant, Councilmember Dolan,
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards, Mayor Pro Tem Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Green.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so very much. Let's move on to public comments at the end of our meeting. Please, Steve, come on up.
First, actually, I lived in the city of Leadville since 1980. At present, one of my weaknesses is writing up things that I need to write up. And I need to write up both the elements of a toxic spill in my neighborhood. I now have to carry my dog across the gutter between my house and the street. And I wasn't pleased with the law enforcement response to that. And I did speak to the mayor once about this. So I need to write this up, and we'll try to get to it. Taking the rest of my time to consider one of the assets of the city is Zeitz Park bathroom. Recently, two of the people so there have been a progression of people that have been using this as their private resident kind of a crash pad, fentanyl use area, whatever, that really weren't used the bathroom as a bathroom. So they'd be in there for, one guy actually he would stick on a note on one of the bathrooms saying it was out of order, and he'd be in there for a couple hours. That was Eddie. Then there was Barry Goslin. He'd be in there for hours at a time sometimes. Barry Goslin got thrown out of the city. My understanding from the scuttlebutt is that the judge in the county court said he had to leave the city or more actions would be happening to him that he didn't want. So he hasn't been back to the city. Then we have, I'm missing somebody in this chain, but we've had two guys there recently, Mike, a fentanyl user, and Tony, a recent release from the Department of Corrections. They were both doing drugs. They're hanging out there too long. It's been blissful that both of them are in jail right now, and they haven't been around. So it's nice to go to that bathroom and have two empty bathrooms without somebody hanging out there and turning it into their own uses. So we need to get cameras for that Zeitz Park bathroom, and we need to get some way to have a positive monitoring of it. But another issue has come up. Well, two issues. One, the toilet paper thing. And then when I presented this last time, I missed out an element. Last summer, there was the fourth day. Can I keep talking?
I will grant you a little time.
Okay, the the fourth day that there was no toilet paper in the west end of Lights Park bathroom, I came and talked to the mayor. She took notes about it. I don't, it says she was gonna take care of it. The fifth day I came in and talked to the administrator. She was gonna take care of it. The sixth day, no toilet paper, I came in and I was on the stairway. I ran into the new, traffic department administrator. And I told her about, she stopped coming down the stairs and went back to her office to take care of it. The fourth, fifth, sixth, the seventh day, I went there, no toilet paper. Tony happened to be there and I mentioned it to him and he put a roll of toilet paper on top of the dispenser. So we're sliding into that again. When one of those toilet paper things is empty, they should stick another one in there. But that's seems to be, because then you end up with two empty ones and there's no toilet paper. That's one issue. The other issue that is a strong issue is I found out that the administrator goes on, she's here 4 days a week, so she's not here Friday. The police do not like to deal with Lights Park. And there was a day when I called in, it was a Friday. The bathroom was locked. It was when we were just having one bathroom there. The bathroom was locked. Nobody was responding. There was another person there. Her dad has this candy thing and she used that bathroom. We used her phone to call up the police department. They referenced me to, I forget how it worked, but I think I got referenced to the dispatcher and then I got referenced back to her. Then the police department told me that they were going to connect me with the administrator. Well, the administrator wasn't here. So if somebody was overdosing in that bathroom at that time, nobody responded that day. We waited for an hour and then we left. Somebody could have died there. Or if somebody is not on drugs and they're elderly or whatever, they had a heart attack or stroke and they're in there, on Friday, there's nobody that's going to take care of that. To try and get Tony on the weekend, a lot of times he doesn't respond. So we have to have a more structured approach at this. If that bathroom's locked, nobody's responding. That somebody shows up with a key, opens it up and says, what's going on here? Thank you kindly for that.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone online who would like to give public comment at the end of this meeting? Please raise your virtual hand. Seeing none. Mayor's report. I don't have a big one. I already told you about all the excitement at the swearing in of the firefighters, which was really the highlight of my week. And that's all at that.
Is there any video of this cake?
So some people, actually, none of us expected it. So some people like whipped out their cameras. I was just kind of standing there in shock. So I did not do that, but I did see some people. Okay. I see if I can find somewhere with this. It was truly impressive. Council reports.
I have one.
Please.
Thursday, I went to the youth summit at the high school presented by Lake County Build a Generation's Youth Coalition. And the Build a Generation team did a great job, especially the coalition facilitator, Stephanie Radia, at the event. Amy Hall, who ran the events, and the whole team put it together, and it was really cool. Night together, have food, and then the Youth Coalition presented on two topics. They presented on mental health resources in our community, or lack thereof, mostly. And then they can also presented on the need for third spaces, so spaces outside of home and school that are available and safe and generally healthier places to spend time. So it really, it coincided well with our discussion about the community center I think, you know, what they presented was, you know, the complete lack of third spaces in general in our community. And it's stuff we've heard from Lori and from Lauren Barrett and throughout the community center process about how youth and young adults in our community spend their time. Not a lot of options here in Leadville. So I think it really echoed and reinforced that the need is out there. Whether that's our community center and in what iteration and form, you know, certainly TBD. But I think it has just been a decades-long call from many generations of youth in our community that it's important. So, you know, as we go along, thinking about our community center, you know, I would just invite us all to be really bought into that being a really real community need. I don't think it has, like, I'm agnostic about how the need is met. If our community center is the best way to meet that or a viable way, great. But I would just encourage us to stay vigilant to that as a need is for both a way to prevent personal and social harms, but also ways to just make vibrant our community and these really amazing, talented youth that we have in our community. And it made me also think that there's a lot of opportunity to zoom out from our individual projects and approach the solutions to that from a youth-led type of way where we can be informing about the realistic constraints and what the options are. But we can, like right now it feels like, here's our project, do you like it? But I think we can also back up and kind of slow down as we consider next steps for our community center and engage with that coalition. So not that we haven't done that, because we totally have. But I just also want to be careful not to kind of get tunnel vision into singular projects especially when it may be a challenge to bring it to full fruition, or it might be slow anyway. And there's the need now. So just all that's swirling around in my head, but it was a great night, and I would invite you all to go in future years. They do it annually, and they pick different topics to present on.
Thank you for going to that.
Yeah.
It's not quite back in town.
There's a lot going on this month for sure.
Can I ask, I'm just curious, are you, in any capacity, is that discussion being had about, like, so if the community center doesn't end up being, or, you know, like, what are our various options? Are those things being discussed?
I would say yes. And part of that, I'm just pulling up an email from Lauren Barrett right now. So I think a big part of that is we've had the indoor rec group, WREK rec group, for going on 2 years now. We briefly kind of borrowed that group to do more focused work on the city community things with buy-in from the members. Now that report with AMD has pretty much come to fruition, that rec group will kind of go back to a more community-wide perspective, discussing what the resources and constraints and possibilities are. I also think that there's another group that is very relevant, which is the Youth Program Collective, which is a group of all the out-of-school time providers in the community. So like the library, Goal, Project Dream, the rec department. And there's a lot of overlap between those groups, but kind of focused on different things. But I think that group there will also be discussion about third spaces. And this is just a budding idea, but I think there's likelihood, it would be cool to see that youth coalition maybe continue to lead community conversation on youth third space, just on a broad community level. And I don't know if that's their plan or not, but I know Lauren Barrett has been meeting with their facilitator, Stephanie Radia, and I think it's partly to discuss like how to make sure that conversation keeps going. And that does include our community center possibility as well. So in short, yes, but it's not perfect yet, probably. Yeah.
Other council reports? Okay, let's go to public meetings planner. I have to shorten my page. Okay. Let's see. Any additions, subtractions, or notable?
So next Tuesday is a work session?
Next Tuesday is a special
Special
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah. This says work session. It's really a special meeting. And that is because we will be hearing from a variety, we're gonna have the second reading of that ordinance number 3. And we're gonna hear from a variety of presenters, because we really need to talk about how to direct the $50,000 that we have dedicated in our ARPA funds for economic development. So I think that's going to be a really hard and a really robust discussion. And so we need to make a decision that night. So it is a special meeting. It'll be advertised. It is advertised as a special meeting, not a work session.
Okay.
I know that County Commissioner Tharp reached out to all of us about trying to set up another city-county joint meeting. Has any progress been made on that yet?
Yeah, so looking ahead, June is kind of weirdly structured. So we have 2 open Tuesdays at the end of the month. And I know we've kind of been work sessioned out. The CML annual conference is the week of the 23rd. However, we have the next Tuesday, the 30th, which is open, which would give us a break between our regularly scheduled meeting and this proposed joint work session. But that's what I'm proposing, is that we put it on the 30th.
Okay.
Also was open to that and said, you know, she's kind of like turning their scheduler over. And so she and I are talking about getting that set up, 6 p.m., you know, the huge,
Yeah.
as the kids say.
So likely June 30th. but
June
not
30th,
fully
6
confirmed yet.
p.m. It is, I mean, we don't have a quorum of council, but that's kind of the only thing that's pending. This BOCC feels okay with that. How do you guys feel about it?
Works for me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, please put down June 30th as an actual joint work session. Okay. Very good. Any others, comments on the public meetings planner? And I would consider a motion to adjourn very gratefully.
Thomas moves to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 8:47, this regular city council meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Who won?
I was 1 minute off and one was 8 minutes off.
The way, which?
I was the optimist. I was like, 27.
I thought you were gonna end the recording.
Oh, man.
I wonder if all of the like futures markets have picked up on this yet.
It's really fun. Literally, I think Andrew won it on the nose rings. Or maybe it was second guys very often. And then that time I won it on the nose, and then they came back and said, you know, you actually called Sid Henson to order 1 minute early, so you didn't win.
You guys were fine now.
You know, you get closer,
I have something in my car I would like to bring into City Hall. But it requires two hands. Would somebody be willing to open the door for me? I run back in with it. Sure.
You need someone to go to your car with you to.
But it isn't like a two-person carry. We pass it around and then close the door. That gets scanned into our O's.
Okay.
So Cisco, it is a projector.
Ally,
All right.
could you mute or stop the
Retirement.